Well, folks, right now I'm in Hammond, America, a beautiful place, and they play some pretty good football here at Southeastern. Their head coach is Frank Scelfo. Coach, thanks so much for meeting with me today.
Absolutely. Appreciate you coming to town for us.
Yeah, good Abbeville boy right here. At least born in Abbeville. You grew up in the Acadiana area there.
Yeah, raised in New Iberia, so I spent my whole life there, and then went off to ULM, Northeast Louisiana back then, and then here we are, bringing me back full circle.
Well, I'll tell you what, this has been a great fit for you in Southeastern. I think before you came here, they had won one playoff game in their history. You've already won a couple here this season. You made it to the second round of the playoffs. How is your vision taking place so far?
Well, you know, when I got here, I think one of the big goals that we had was to put this program on a national scale consistently. That's what we wanted to do. And, you know, now we've been 3 years in the top 25, 3 straight seasons, and so we're getting there. We're starting to get the recognition around the country that I feel like that we deserve and then we can get to. And I think it's just the availability of players down here, the passion for football in this area and in the state of Louisiana. You know, and I think we can do that. I think we can compete at that level. And now that we can get everybody on board pushing in the same direction, I think there's good things to come in the future.
This past year really was unique. There was some freshness and some kind of fun in playing a spring season, but this guy right here, he's working harder than me, obviously, to make that all work. But what was that like for you before we talk about the fall of 2021?
Yeah, a little different, obviously, right? We started in January, got him back here January the 4th, and went all the way through the middle of April with our 7th game. And so that was a process for our kids. It was something that hadn't been done before. And so we reached out to a lot of some of the spring leagues, the professional leagues, and talked to some of those guys, some of the NFL guys that got players from the spring leagues on how to manage those bodies as they went through a spring season and then turn right around and go through fall camp and into the fall season. So it was interesting, a lot of learning, great learning experience for us. We had a lot of guys got a lot of experience that desperately needed, and it showed this fall. Some of the guys that we had that played a lot of ball that, you know, if we wouldn't have had the spring season, would not have played.
One simplistic thing I picked up on, Coach, it's a lot windier in the spring than it is in the fall. The wind was gusting.
It is. We had a couple of games where the wind did affect us, and so it was different. But you didn't have that hot August heat when you came to camp. Camp was in the wintertime, right? It was in January and February, and then, you know, all the games were really, the weather was fantastic the entire spring for us to play.
They're 18 to 20-year-olds or 22-year-olds, so we think that they can do anything. But 20 games on a body in 1 year, that is a challenge for some of those guys.
Yeah, it was, Jack, and I think that's where I think we did a really good job managing that. I know some of our weights kind of fell off towards the end of the season in the fall, but I think our strength staff and our training staff and our coaches managing the practices and taking the workload off some of those guys throughout the course of the season. Every now and then you need a rain out, and it worked out good for us and for some of our guys.
So in the fall here, you go 9-4, 6-2, reaching the second round of playoffs. You had a big win against Florida A&M here in Hammond, and once again, I guess kind of learned about what will be required to take that next step. But what did you see out of the team this year?
Well, you know, I saw guys, older guys, really mature. You know, when you look at life, I think football prepares you for life, all the adversity that you encounter. You know, getting up every morning at 5:30 and 6 and going to the workouts, and then going to class all day, and then coming back for meetings and practice, and then going to study hall at night. And, you know, so there's a lot of things that football prepares you for when you leave college and go out into the real world. Well, we kind of flipped it. You know, we went through the COVID year where the goalposts kept changing for us, and we had the season pulled from underneath us. Then we went through the spring season, then we got to fall camp, and then Hurricane Ida hit. And we evacuated for 12 days. And, you know, so there was a lot of adversity our guys had to go through. What I saw was the experience and them being able to overcome the adversity on the field because of what they had dealt with in life. And that's why I say we kind of flipped it. The things that we saw in life really helped us out on the field when things happen, turnovers or big plays. I didn't see our guys flinch. I saw our guys really stay focused, and that led to a lot of our success.
One of my favorite sayings that Sean Payton said years back was about quarterbacks, and he said they're like an airplane pilot. They either fly you to safety or into the side of a mountain. And you have coached your share of great quarterbacks. Just in my notes, just at Tulane alone, you coached Patrick Ramsey, J.P. Lossman, Lester Ricard, who we know very well, and Sean King. So you know what it looks like. Cole Kelly won the Heisman for FCS last year, the Walter Payton Award. He's a finalist again this year. He could win it back-to-back years. What did he mean to this program?
I think, you know, from a fan's perspective, sitting in the stands and watching him, you saw how special he was. You saw the things that he was able to do out here on the field, and it's and what he's done has never been done before, right? Some of the numbers he put up were just kind of ridiculous. But his impact on our program is much bigger than that. His impact from a leadership standpoint in our locker room, with our players, with the community, involving so many people and getting everybody pulling in the same direction. That's where, you know, for me, his value was even more than what it was on the field. And that's what people don't see. People don't see the character aspect of it. When your best players also are your best people, now you got something special, and that's what it happened. That's, you know, for us, that's what it was. That Cole's one of the best people, best man you could possibly meet, and then for him to come out and play like that also just galvanized our team. So he was a consummate leader for us. He did all the things that we needed him to do on the field, but then off the field, his impact was really felt.
He's unusually tall. He's 6'7".
Yeah.
What, as a guy, you spent a lot of time in the NFL, does he have a future at the next level?
He does. He's going to get an opportunity. You don't have to have all 32 teams fall in love with you. You just got to have one. Yeah. And there'll be somebody's going to say, you know what, he's a guy that's we're going to take him and let's see how far he can go. You know, you got to remember his experiences, a few games at Arkansas, and then starting the spring season and then the fall, and then that's it. He really doesn't have a lot of experience. What we've seen though is what we talked about. He's in an upward trend, so his arrow is pointing up because you know it's not like you got 4 years to look at him and see where his ceiling is. It's not there yet. He's got a lot more room to grow, and he can get a lot better, and I think that's what somebody's going to bank on is the future for him.
We covered Austin Mitchell at Plaquemine High School, and he was your leading receiver this year. I think you told me he was in the top 4 of the entire country.
Yeah. He's a guy that walked on here, earned a scholarship. When I got here that spring, I watched him run around and said, what kind of scholarship are you on? He said, I'm a walk-on. And I said, well, not anymore. So he'll be a Hall of Famer here at Southeastern. He's definitely left his mark. Same thing, from a personality standpoint, that guy's never had a bad day, man. He walks out here with a smile on his face every day, goes to work every day. And again, when your best people are your best players, you got a chance to have something special. And he's in that category with Cole from a leadership standpoint.
Fans like coaches who discipline their players. I think most good players expect discipline and structure and everything. With everything going on these days with Twitter and social media and the transfer portal and the opting out and the NIL, there's been so many drastic changes in college football in the last 2 or 3 years. Is it harder for you to do your job, or do you feel that they're as receptive now as they've been in the past?
I think they're receptive now as they've been in the past. When I look at players, when we spend time with them, you got to get to know them as people, and it's not just about the X's and O's. If that's all you're doing, you're gonna flatline pretty quick. We've got some interesting people. I mean, when you sit down with 18 to 22-year-olds and you get a perspective that if you didn't listen to them, it's something that's brand new. And it's exciting for me. I like that. I like to listen to different ideas. I like to listen to them voice their opinions. We have an open door policy here, and guys have an opportunity to speak their mind. And I'm happy they've got an NIL deal. It's great that they can go out and make money there. It's a free market in this country, right? So go make as much as you can, as long as it doesn't take away from us on the field. Same thing academically, as long as it doesn't take away from their books. I'm all for all that stuff. And I think there's some misguided people out there from the portal standpoint. We got guys, we don't, but there's a lot of guys that are leaving, and they really don't have another place to go to. And they've been, there's some misinformation out there. But I think that our coaching staff and the way that we do things here, we don't have guys that leave here. They stay here, and we listen to them. It's fun. I love this age group is fantastic, and coaching in the NFL, that's strictly a business, and you really don't get close to players. It's not because they're going pretty quick. And here in college, you hope to stay with them 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and as a coach, you can have a bigger impact on college kids. I've heard former players talk about when they were in college, the coach raised our level. We won a game that we weren't supposed to win, as opposed to the pros where it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's my job. I'm showing up to work today, and we are what we are, so to speak.
When you look at the difference, the NFL players are highly motivated to play, right? They know they have to play well to keep getting that game check. And if they don't play well, they're not going to get that check. And there's not many jobs out there in the real world that pay what they're making. Our guys don't get that game check. So the motivation aspect of it has to come from within. So it's more internalized than it is at the NFL. The NFL, the great ones get that game check and they're internally motivated. Tom Brady's internally motivated. Drew Brees is internally motivated. The great players are like that. But not everybody has great players. There's a different level down there at the bottom that are externally motivated by the game check alone. Those guys usually don't last. In college, we have to externally motivate these guys some other way. So the drive that they get, and that comes from recruiting too, but the drive that they get is that's what we try to develop in them from a freshman, from a young age as they grow up, to continue to work and see the value of, sometimes you don't get the results that you want, but you still got to work hard at it, and let's see how hard you're going to work this week.
Yeah, that's great. Very well said. Nick Saban, he dipped his toe in the water for a couple of years in that NFL stuff as a head coach, and unfortunately most people in Louisiana would say unfortunately, he ended up down the road in Tuscaloosa and hasn't left since. And then you got a guy like Pete Carroll, who they said, oh, this guy's rah-rah, he's corny, and then he came back to the NFL after being at USC and won a Super Bowl and went to another. So
I think when you look at some guys, they've made the jump and then came back to college, and then some guys made the jump and then have continued to do well. It's a different game and different personalities, but I've always said, if you really love doing this and coaching, you can go get a middle school and the excitement's still there. I don't have to have 80,000 people. We can't put 80,000 in Strawberry Stadium, but the intensity, the excitement, everything is still there. The pain after a tough loss and the excitement after a victory. You can see how much our players put into it, and you can see how much players put into it from any team. When you see somebody win and you go into the locker room after the game and you can feel the excitement. If there's not electricity in there, there's not a lot of put into it, But when we walk in our locker room after a win, it's just, there's so much electricity in there.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what level you're at, or how many people are in the stands or anything like that. It's about being competitive.
And I would imagine that the players at a college program, they keep you young and they give you the energy to do some things that I've heard, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I hear that college coaches work so much harder than pro coaches because of the fact that pro coaches, they go into a building, they coach, the players come from the draft or free agency, you guys are hitting the road, you're recruiting, you've got to go speak to booster clubs and do those extra things as a college coach.
You do, that takes up some of your time. You probably spend more time during the season at the NFL level preparing, but we spend a lot of time here also. But the off season, the NFL kind of slows down a little bit, whereas we pick it up because of recruiting, spring practice. You no longer have that at that level. So spring practice takes up a lot of your time from a preparation standpoint and development. So our guys are our guys. We go sign a class each year, but you kind of know what your team's going to look like. Whereas the NFL, they'll turn their roster over, maybe a third of their roster each and every year. And so there's new guys coming in. So they're constantly searching for somebody better than what they have, and they have to make an immediate impact.
Coach, what about the level of play in the state of Louisiana? I'm sure that, Tim Rebo, what he's done over at Nichols, and McNeese State has been a traditional power, and Northwestern State has had their time, and they'll be back. I mean, Billy Napier, growing up in Acadiana, we could never envision the Florida Gators would hire the coach at USL, right, so to speak, to be their head coach. What he did there, and of course LSU will always be LSU. Just what's it like to coach in the state and see all the great teams and programs?
Well, growing up in the state, you see, right? And I coached in Tulane for 11 years and then Louisiana Tech for 3. Yeah. So I was able to, seeing everything. That's why I knew this job could really be successful. Because we can take this program with the amount of players that we have in this state and use homegrown players and develop this program and watch it grow and be consistently good on a national level. And the reason I can say that is because I've seen other schools around the state do it. Like you mentioned McNeese, you mentioned Nichols State and what Tim has done over there. Billy Napier, 3 seasons in a row they've won 10 games over there. Who would have thought that, right? Louisiana Tech's been at the top of this thing. UL Monroe, they're trying to get back up in there. Obviously LSU, Southern and Grambling have always been competitive. Yeah. You look at all those schools that we've got in the state, and they're stocked with mainly Louisiana players, and they're being successful. And I think that's the best part about it is that the high school coaches here in this state do a fantastic job of getting guys and getting them to play hard. When you go to the Superdome this weekend and watch the state championship games, it's unbelievable the amount of talent that's on those fields. And we want something. We want them right here at Hammond America. And we got 2 teams from Tangipahoa Whole Parish that are playing in the state championship games. And there's a lot of talent. This is a talent-heavy area, and we're going to try to get our share.
Yeah. I'm sure you will. I should have mentioned Louisiana Tech a while ago, and they made a move on their coach, and it's like, whoa, that guy had won a lot of games and bowl games and stuff, and it's like it all trickles down from the NFL, right? In terms of the pressure to win, and we're going to make a move even if you don't for a little bit. It's dialed up.
Well, I think right now when you look at the salaries and the contracts that are being dished out, there's the expectation is to win now.
Yep.
And we said that when we got here, though. And I think a lot of people don't realize that coaches put more pressure on themselves than anybody else.
Sure.
It's sure the money's great, but it's the expectation that you have to put a product on the field that you can be successful. That's where it's all coming from. And it's not about your paycheck at the end of the month. That's not it. It's about get these guys ready to play and be successful on Saturdays.
A couple more things with you, Coach Scelfo. Appreciate your time. Do you know anything about Brian Kelly, LSU's new hire?
I don't know. I know people have crossed paths with him. I know he's an energetic guy. He's an attention to detail guy. I'm looking forward to creating a relationship with him, just like we had with Ed prior to this. I'm looking forward to it. I hope he stays here in the state. I hope he does a fantastic job, which I think he will, recruiting the state. The stronger LSU is, the stronger we all become, because we are branches of that. They will keep a lot of people out of this state recruiting if they do a fantastic job recruiting in the state.
And Ed, if you would have jumped in a time machine and said what was going to happen after they won the national championship, you wouldn't believe it, right? I
wasn't there, so I don't know what's going on. I know Ed's a good friend. He's had a great career. I know he said he's going to Destin with $17 million or whatever. So I'm happy for him. I think he's in his dream job, I believe. He'll land somewhere else if he wants to. He'll be hot commodity on the coaching circuit, and he'll end up coaching somewhere else.
I saw him the other day, Coach, at the St. Charles Catholic State Championship, and then the Catholic High played Jesuit State Championship. And I said, Coach, just promise me one thing, that you won't go to Alabama. And he said, over my dead body. And he might have mixed something else in there too, but because I had friends saying,
well, that's where you get rehabbed, right? You get under Coach Saban, you get rehabbed. Look, that's a guy there. When you talk about the Mount Rushmore college coaches, Nick Saban's right at the top of it, right? And, I don't think Ed will go back over there. But I don't look. I've seen stranger things take place in this profession. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I saw him at a speaking engagement, and he said, "I'm a free agent, so he can do what he wants, I guess." But I would imagine he'd take 1 year off. That's what he keeps saying, and I just think he's going to get back in somewhere.
He will. He's got too much energy, and he's too good at what he does. He's going to be back. He'll be back, and he'll come back strong. You know him. He's gonna. Yeah. He's just got a fiery. Look, I played against his kid for 4 years. His son, Cody, over at McNeese. That guy's got the same type of personality: fiery, competitive, tough as nails, and that's it. That's his son, and that's what you get when you're dealing with him.
The one thing he did joke about, he said, "My son has the highest GPA in the history of the Orgerons." I think he had like a 3.8 or a 3.
Well, I can see that one. I can tell you that. Yeah. I'm glad he's gone. I can tell you that from McNeese.
Right.
I'm glad he's out of there.
That might have been one of the toughest games too, Coach, that Ed had to coach when his son got sacked. I don't know how many times against LSU, like 8 times or something. They kept hitting him. It's like, ooh.
That's a tough deal there. He's got to look. He's making that call on that one.
Yeah.
We had meetings before. I imagine somebody said, "Can we go get Cody?" Yeah, let's go.
By the third or fourth quarter, let's drop back a little bit. Let's give him a little
Let
space.
him live through this thing. Look, we played in Tiger Stadium a couple of years ago.
Yeah, 2018.
2018, and really, I thought our guys did a great job there. But you know, it is for us to be able to do that and play in there, and you know what LSU's doing now by playing everybody in the state and allowing them an opportunity to go to Tiger Stadium and play. I think it's just fantastic.
I think that was Joe Burrow's second game as a Tiger.
It was. I think it was his lowest output from production standpoint that he had in his career at LSU.
You guys sacked him a lot that day.
We did. We had a good game against him defensively. I was really pleased with our guys, our effort. I was hoping we could score, but we played well on defense against them that day.
Of course, from the LSU perspective, we're getting sacked by Southeastern. This is going to be a disaster of a year, moving forward and everything. But y'all came to play.
Well, you got to remember, we got some pretty good players too.
Yeah.
And we got some guys here that can go play at a lot of places, and I'm just happy that they stay here, compete here, and we're giving them an environment for them to develop and grow.
Well, that's what they always said was the difference, Coach, right? The FBS, the 1A, as we used to call it, they had 85 scholarships.
Right.
Y'all had 65. And it was always a case of, well, the starters against the starters, pretty even. It's when you get into the third and fourth quarter, the depth starts to.
Yeah, that and special teams, so because you're using a lot more bodies during that time. So that's when you'll see the difference in when two teams are really not equal from that standpoint. The special teams really plays a big role in those games. And then, like you said, as the game goes on, they've got more guys that they can put in there at a higher level than what we have. But some of our starters be able to play there, and but a lot of their backups will be able to play here too.
Do you know Coach Dooley?
Yes.
I think everyone that knows that guy just roots for him. He seems like such a genuine, humble, sweet guy who, coached with Coach Richardson for so many years at Southern, and now gets his shot to be the head coach there.
Well, he did a great job over at Prairie View, I can tell you that. And, I talked to him. In fact, when he got the Prairie View job, I talked to him, congratulated him. I was happy for him. And I'm extremely happy. I know this is a place that he wanted to come back to. And I think that's important, Jock. When you get, sometimes guys go into jobs looking to take the next job. I think Eric's coming back to Southern because that's where he wants to be. I think that's a destination job for him. And that's why I can see Southern really taking off, being successful. Again, really taking it to a level they hadn't been at for a long period of time, as long as Eric's there.
Yeah, Coach, I was thinking about that the other day. I know it's a business, it's a job, you're working for a paycheck and whatnot, but when you've played at a school and you've coached at a school and you've always worn those colors, to go to another place and coach against those guys, I just wonder how my brain would function,
Yeah, that's a little bit tough. And my first game here, I coached, we played UL Monroe. So that was my first game here, so that was my alma mater. I had no problem trying to win that game, I can tell you that. I didn't have any bad feelings. If we would have won it, I wouldn't have had any bad feelings. But, I can see that. But I think, like for me coming here, this is not a place that I'm using to go somewhere else. I want to build this. I want to see how far we can take this.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap with that here. This is a great community. It's a beautiful campus. You have a lot of students that come to school here. It's a little bit like USL, Coach. I remember there were so many students that went there and they commuted, and it was hard to get them into Cajun Field on the weekend, Right. And so maybe is that the case too, to continue to get those students, hey, don't just drive home to Baton Rouge or wherever you live, come to the stadium on the weekend.
We're competing against that same thing, and we're competing against all the other the teams that play on Saturdays, But we have the third largest student body in the state right now, behind LSU and UL. And about 14,000 students or a little bit more. And, we need that student support. I think it's, we've had some games this year where our crowd made a difference in our game. You can feel the energy within the stadium. And there's no, I don't care where you go, there's no better population in the stadium than the student body.
Yeah.
And when those guys are in here, those students are in the stadium, they tailgate before, and here they come. They're loud, they're obnoxious, they're awesome. I mean, you just pull for them. And we feel it when we go on the road and we have to sit in front of somebody else's student body. They have an opportunity to impact the game. When you talked about Hammond, when you talk about this area, it's such a beautiful area. My wife and I absolutely love it here. We got 55, we got I-12. New Orleans is 45 minutes away. Baton Rouge is 40 minutes away. Mandeville, Covington is 20 miles away. We're in just a great area to live, to experience things, to see stuff. And it's not that it's comfortable, but it's from the standpoint of here we are, how big can we get this thing? How far can we take this thing? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get past the second round right now, right? That's what we want to be able to do. And then let's see how far we can take it.
Yeah, and sometimes getting to the second round and farther than that, it's got to be a shock if you've got to go to some freezing cold place. Like I always think about those teams that would have to go to Montana or some of those places.
Yeah, we did that 2 years ago. We went to Montana at 19, and it was different. It was different. That's you see snow-capped mountains and the wind's blowing about 30 miles an hour, and it was about 25 degrees. So it impacted the game. James Madison didn't, but that was an absolute. We had a beautiful day that day. We didn't play well, but to see their facilities and what they've done at the FCS level, and they're at the top of that. Now they're going to FBS now, but they're at the top of the FCS standings every year. When you start talking about great teams at this level, who do you have to get past? James Madison's one of them. I want that moniker to fall to us at some point in time. What I want to be able to do is make everyone as proud of this place. The people that came before. I didn't go to school here, so the passion. When you went to school at a place, that passion and intensity stays with you your whole life. And I'm just holding the door open for those people, and I want to make them. This is for all those people that came before us. Those people that competed, those people that did all the things to do to get the football program back started again in 2003 when they dropped it, and then got it to. There's a lot of sacrifice took place and a lot of investment took place, and because of that, those are the people that I want to impact and give them a product out here that they can be excited about and be proud of.
Coach Scelfo, thanks for your time, my friend.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right.